My wife humiliated me in front of her friends, saying I was just her roommate. So I treated her like my new roommate. Later, she called me cruel, and her reaction later was priceless. Hey Reddit, didn't think I'd ever write one of these, but I've been carrying this for a while. If you've ever dealt with someone who thinks they're the main character 24/7, you'll get it. My wife, well, ex-wife now, used to think making fun of me was cute. Turns out she didn't like it much when I started treating her exactly the way she treated me. Buckle up, cause this one is long. Name's Dylan Reed, 31. I work in IT, nothing flashy, but it pays the bills. I live in Austin. Married, well, was married, to Vanessa, 29. She worked in marketing, mostly for small lifestyle brands, but acted like she was running Nike. We'd been married 3 years. I met her at a friend's BBQ. She was confident, loud, funny, the kind of woman who lit up a room. I liked that back then. Confidence was attractive. It changed slowly. Confidence turned into arrogance. The funny comments about me being quiet or so serious became her favorite punchlines in front of people. I used to brush them off, figuring it wasn't worth an argument over a few words. I stopped finding it funny around the time she stopped respecting me. Anyway, Kelsey, her best friend, was having a birthday dinner at one of those overpriced places where the plates are big and the food is small. Vanessa insisted I come. It'll be fun, she said, like dragging me into a room full of her loud influencer friends was some kind of party I went. I didn't want to, but I figured I'd make an appearance, keep it civil, and let her have her night. We walked into the restaurant, and she immediately switched on that fake high-energy voice she uses for her friends' hugs, squeals, photos before anyone even sat down. Kelsey was turning 30 and looked like she was trying to prove she hadn't aged a day past 23. I sat near the end of the table. 10 of us total. Everyone's talking over each other, laughing too loud, clinking glasses. Vanessa's in her element, telling stories that aren't funny, exaggerating everything. I just smiled, nodded when someone asked me something, kept my phone face down on the table halfway through dinner. The drinks are flowing, and Vanessa's on a roll. She's the center of attention, talking with her hands, laughing like she's on camera. I zoned out until I heard my name. Ugh, don't even get me started on Dylan, she said, leaning toward Kelsey. At this point, he's basically my roommate. Everyone laughed. Not loud, more like polite, awkward laughs from people who didn't know if it was okay. I felt it, though. That quiet sting you get when someone crosses a line they've crossed before, but this time you don't let it slide. I looked at her and smiled. Calm, not angry. Roommate, huh? That's funny. I didn't realize roommates paid for your car and rent. The table went dead silent. One guy choked on his drink. A couple of them laughed nervously, looking down. Vanessa froze. Her eyes flicked between me and her friends, trying to find a way to recover, but she couldn't. She forced a laugh. Oh my God, Dylan, you're so dramatic, she said, trying to sound playful. No one laughed this time. The attention she loved so much just evaporated. The rest of the night crawled by. She barely said another word to me. Kelsey tried to keep the energy going, but the mood had shifted. I stayed polite, paid for our meal, even smiled for a group photo. She didn't. The second we got in the car, she exploded. What the hell was that? You embarrassed me in front of everyone. I didn't even look at her. You mean like how you embarrassed me first? That was a joke, Dylan, she snapped. Yeah, mine too, I said calmly, keeping my eyes on the road. She crossed her arms. You're so sensitive. I can't even joke around without you making it a big deal. Right, I said. But it's fine when the joke's on me, huh? She scoffed, shaking her head like I was the problem. You always twist everything. I just smiled a little. Nah, I just matched your energy. She didn't reply after that. Just glared out the window like a teenager in trouble. When we pulled into the driveway, she stormed inside without waiting for me. I sat there for a second, watching the house lights glow through the windshield, and thought about how easy it had been for her to humiliate me for laughs, and how easy it was for me to shut her down with one line. That's when it clicked. She didn't want a partner. She wanted someone to make her look good. Someone who'd take the hits so she could play the confident wife with the harmless jokes. She wanted a doormat. She forgot I had a spine. The morning after that dinner, I woke up before Vanessa did. She was sprawled across the bed, hair everywhere, phone still clutched in her hand, probably checking if her friends texted about the night before. I didn't bother waking her. I showered, dressed, made my coffee, and left for work without saying a word. At the office, things were quiet, normal. I didn't tell anyone what happened. I wasn't angry, just done wasting breath. I knew how it would go if I brought it up again. She'd twist it, play the victim, make me feel like I overreacted. So I didn't bring it up at all. That night, she tried the nice act. The moment I walked through the door, she came over with this exaggerated smile. "Hey, babe," she said, wrapping her arms around me like we were newlyweds. She smelled like perfume and burnt sauce. "What's that smell?" I asked. She laughed nervously. "I made dinner. Your favorite, chicken Alfredo." I looked over her shoulder. The sauce was sticking to the pan like glue, noodles hard on the edges. "Looks good," I said flatly. She kept her smile on, trying too hard. "Don't just stand there, sit down. I even got your favorite drink." I sat, ate a few bites, didn't say much. She was talking nonstop about her day, her co-workers, her new shoes, random stuff she knew I didn't care about. When she paused long enough to notice I wasn't really reacting, she frowned. "You're quiet," she said. "Just tired," I answered. That became my go-to line over the next few days. "Just tired. Long day. Yeah. No. Okay. Nothing more." She started overcompensating. Out of nowhere, she'd hug me from behind when I was working on my laptop. "Missed you today," she'd say. I'd nod, keep typing. When I didn't melt at her touch, she'd pout and walk away. One night she made steak, burned it completely. "I think the oven's acting weird," she muttered, scraping black crust off the pan. "Sure," I said, taking a sip of water. She glared at me. "You could at least appreciate the effort." "I do," I said calmly. "I appreciate it." The tone threw her off. I wasn't sarcastic, just detached. Like she didn't matter enough to argue with. By midweek, she started cracking. She followed me around the house with questions. "Are you mad at me? Why are you acting weird? Are you doing this to punish me?" "Doing what?" I asked. "This," she snapped. "Being cold. You barely talk to me anymore." I shrugged. "Just living up to my roommate status." Her jaw dropped. "You're still on that?" I nodded slightly. "Apparently that's what we are, right? Roommates. So I'm just playing the part." She went red in the face. "You're being immature." "Maybe." "This is controlling, Dylan. You're trying to control me by shutting down." I looked up from my phone. "You think silence is control? You must hate when people stop entertaining your nonsense." She threw her hands up. "You're impossible!" "Finally catching on," I said, standing up. She started another rant, but I was already putting on my jacket. "Where are you going?" she demanded. "For a drive." "So you're just walking out again?" "Yup." I left before she could fire another line. The air outside felt different. Cold, quiet, honest. I rolled down the window, drove with no destination. The radio was off, the streets half empty. I realized how much noise she brought into my life. Constant talking, complaining, performing. I'd been mistaking that noise for connection. Now, the silence felt better than any conversation we'd had in months. When I got back home, the lights were off. She was in the bedroom pretending to sleep, probably hoping I'd ask if she was okay. I didn't. I grabbed a blanket and crashed on the couch. No yelling, no fake apologies, no endless explanations. And for the first time in a long time, I actually liked it. By Friday, the house felt like a waiting room. Silent, tense, with Vanessa pretending everything was fine. She'd started humming when I walked into a room, fake little tunes that always stopped the moment I left. It was her way of acting unbothered. But the air said otherwise. That morning, I packed a duffel bag and grabbed my boots. When she saw it, she frowned. "Where are you going?" "Weekend hike," I said. "Nate and Oscar invited me." Her eyebrows shot up. "Since when do you hike?" "Since now." She crossed her arms. "Oh, so you're just leaving me alone all weekend?" "Pretty much," I said, zipping up the bag. "You'll survive." She followed me to the door. "You're really doing this?" "Yep. You didn't even ask if I wanted to come." "You don't hike, Vanessa. You post pictures of nature. You don't actually go into it." She glared. "You're unbelievable." "Glad we agree." I walked out before she could build up another speech. Nate's truck was waiting out front. He leaned out the window with his usual grin. "There he is. Mr. Zen finally escaping civilization." Oscar chuckled from the passenger seat. "Told you he'd actually come. Man needs a break." I threw my bag in the back and climbed in. "Just needed some quiet." Nate snorted. Translation: needed a weekend without your wife breathing down your neck. I didn't deny it. We drove a few hours into the hills, stopping for gas and bad diner food. The road opened up into winding trails, surrounded by pine trees and clear sky. When we parked near the start of the trail, Nate stretched like a man escaping prison. "Smell that? That's freedom, my dude." The hike started slow. We talked about work, dumb stuff from college, random jokes. It felt normal, easy. No eggshells, no sarcasm disguised as affection, no constant criticism. By the time we reached camp, I'd already started to feel lighter. Oscar was setting up the tent while Nate wrestled with a lighter he swore was windproof. Oscar looked over at me. "So," he said, "how bad's it gotten?" I shrugged. "She talks. I stopped listening. That's our dynamic now." He nodded. "You can't fix that. You don't fix a person like that. You just stop letting them drain you." "Pretty sure I already did." "Good," he said simply. Nate grinned. "Man, you sound like one of those self-help quotes now. Let go or be dragged or whatever." "Hey," I said. "Works for me." We cooked dinner over a small fire, told old stories, laughed until it got dark. My phone buzzed in my pocket, but I didn't touch it. When I finally checked later, I had 5 missed calls from Vanessa and 3 texts. Guess I'm just not a priority anymore. Have fun abandoning your wife. Don't bother coming back if this is who you are now. I locked the screen and tossed the phone into my bag. The stars were clear that night. No city lights, no noise, just the sound of wind through the trees. I hadn't realized how much I missed this kind of quiet. Saturday morning, we hiked deeper into the trail. Nate kept cracking jokes about my therapy walk. Oscar mostly listened, throwing in a comment here and there. Every time I stopped to look at something, streams, rocks, whatever, Nate would smirk. "Man, Vanessa really had you bottled up, huh?" "Guess so. You look like you just took off a 50-pound backpack," he said. "I did," I replied, and they both laughed. Later that afternoon, while the other two were setting up a small fire pit, I wandered off for a bit, found a quiet spot by the river, and just sat there. No thoughts, no weight on my chest, no fake smiles. For the first time in years, I didn't feel tense. When I went back, Nate was roasting marshmallows he'd somehow brought. "See? I told you this trip would fix you," he said. "Didn't fix me," I said. "Just reminded me who I was before all the noise." Oscar nodded. "Keep that version, don't lose him again." Sunday morning, we packed up and drove home. The truck smelled like smoke and coffee. We joked the whole way back, trading stories about terrible exes and stupid decisions. When they dropped me off, Nate leaned out the window again. "You sure you don't want to come back with us? Another week out there and you'll forget what stress even feels like." "I'll manage," I said with a grin. As they drove off, I stood there for a second, looking at my house. The blinds were open. Vanessa was probably watching. When I walked in, she was in the kitchen, dressed too nicely for a Sunday. Her voice was bright, almost chipper. "Hey, there you are! How was your little hike?" I dropped my bag near the door. It was good. That was it. No details, no follow-up. I walked past her and into the bedroom. Behind me, I heard her fake cheerful tone crack a little. "That's all you're gonna say?" "Pretty much," I said, without turning around. When I came back out, she was standing still, arms crossed, forced smile fading. That's when I saw it, the first flicker of realization that I wasn't bluffing, that I wasn't waiting for her to change. For the first time, she didn't know what to say. By the middle of the week, Vanessa was suddenly full of ideas on how to fix things. She'd gone from cold shoulders to desperate suggestions overnight. Her newest plan? Dinner at my parents' house. "I think it'd be good for us," she said one morning, while pretending to scroll through her phone. "Your parents love me, and honestly, we haven't seen them in forever. We could reconnect a little." I stared at her for a second. "Reconnect?" "Yeah," she said too quickly. "You know, just reset. They always make us feel grounded." I didn't buy it, but I said sure I knew what she was doing, trying to perform for an audience. She'd get to play the doting wife again, and my parents would pat her on the back for trying. Saturday night, we drove over. My parents lived about 30 minutes away, in the same quiet neighborhood I grew up in. Warm light spilling out of the kitchen window, smell of garlic and baked cheese already reaching the driveway. Mom opened the door before I even knocked. "There's my boy," she said, pulling me into a hug. Then she turned to Vanessa with a polite smile. "You look beautiful, honey. Come in." Dad was at the dining table, setting out glasses. "Hey, kid," he said, giving me a firm handshake. "How's life treating you?" "Peaceful," I said. Vanessa forced a laugh. "Oh, you know Dylan always so mysterious." We sat down, and Mom brought out the lasagna. It looked perfect. Golden, bubbling edges, smelled like home. Dinner started fine. Normal talk. Mom asked about my job. Dad talked about his latest fishing trip. Vanessa jumped in whenever she could, trying to steer things back to herself. "Oh, I've been so busy with clients lately," she said. "I barely have time to breathe. You know how marketing is. Constant deadlines, endless meetings." Mom smiled politely. "That sounds stressful." "Oh, it is," Vanessa said, waving her hand dramatically. "And then I come home and Dylan's just there, sitting quietly like always." She said it in a teasing tone, like she thought it was charming, but I could see Mom's smile freeze just a little. I focused on my plate, chewing slowly. Vanessa kept talking, filling every silence. She was in full performance mode. Big smiles, loud laughs, glances around the table like she was waiting for applause. Then she said it. Honestly, it's like living with a roommate sometimes. The room went dead. Forks stopped. Even the hum of the refrigerator felt louder. Mom's expression shifted instantly. Disappointed, not angry. Just that kind of look that says I raised you better than this. Dad put down his fork and looked at me. I stayed calm, cutting another piece of lasagna. You really love that line, I said evenly. Then I looked up at her. Weird how you call me your roommate, but still live off your husband. Vanessa froze. Her smile vanished like a switch had been flipped. She looked from me to my parents. Trying to find something to say, Mom's lips pressed together. Dad nodded once, slow, like he'd been waiting to see if I'd finally say something. Vanessa forced a laugh, high-pitched and awkward. Oh my God, it's just a joke, she said. You guys take things too seriously. No one laughed with her. She reached for her glass of water, hands trembling slightly. The rest of dinner was silent except for the sound of silverware scraping plates. When it was finally over, Mom cleared her throat. Dessert? Vanessa shook her head quickly. No, thank you, we should get going. Dad stood up, gave me a pat on the shoulder as we headed for the door. Drive safe, son. In the car, Vanessa didn't speak for the first 10 minutes. She stared straight ahead, tapping her nails against the door. Finally, she snapped, Why do you always have to make me look bad? I turned slightly, keeping my eyes on the road. You make yourself look bad. I just stopped covering for you, she scoffed. Unbelievable. You embarrassed me in front of your parents. Again. I shrugged. You embarrassed yourself, I just told the truth. She crossed her arms, staring out the window. You're cold, Dylan. You've changed. Yeah, I said. I got tired of pretending. The rest of the ride was quiet. She didn't look at me once. When we got home, she stormed upstairs, slammed the bedroom door. I didn't follow. I sat on the couch, pulled out my phone, and started canceling shared accounts. Streaming services, joint subscriptions, even the meal kit she never used but always insisted we needed. The click of each cancellation felt final. By the time I got to our shared credit card, I paused. The one she'd maxed out buying client wardrobe essentials. I called the bank, removed her as an authorized user, froze the account, and opened a new card in my name. Upstairs, I heard drawers opening and closing, her angry movements, like she was rearranging her life to make a point. I didn't care. Mom had texted me while I was sitting there, just 3 words. Proud of you. I didn't reply, but I smiled. I turned off the lights downstairs and went to bed on my side without saying a word. Vanessa was already under the covers, stiff, facing away from me. She didn't say goodnight. Neither did I. That was the first night I didn't feel guilty about the silence between us. She thought dinner at my parents' would fix things. She didn't even realize that was the moment she lost me completely. A week later, Vanessa barely spoke to me. And when she did, it was in short, irritated bursts. She'd stomp around the house, slam drawers, sigh loudly, and scroll her phone like she was waiting for an audience that wasn't there. I came home late on Friday, keys jingling, and noticed something different right away. 2 large suitcases sitting by the front door. The kind she used when she wanted people to notice she was making a statement. She was standing beside them with her arms crossed, chin up, wearing that fake look of confidence she used when she didn't actually have any. Her voice came out rehearsed. I can't do this anymore, Dylan. I set my bag down. Do what? This, she said, motioning around the room like the air itself had wronged her. This relationship. You've become cold, distant, and manipulative. I leaned against the wall, calm. You mean I stopped letting you disrespect me? Her face twitched. You twist everything. You used to care, Dylan. Now you're just mean. Mean? I said. For not laughing when you insult me? Yeah. Guess I'm the bad guy now. She scoffed. Don't act like you're innocent. You've been emotionally abusive for months. I laughed once. Quiet, genuine amusement. That word doesn't mean what you think it does, Vanessa. She flinched slightly, then straightened up again. Oh, so now you're the victim? Poor Dylan, married to a monster. Is that what you tell your parents? I don't talk about you, I said simply. That threw her off. Her mouth opened, then closed again. She picked up one of the suitcase handles just to have something to do with her hands. You've ruined this marriage, she said finally. You pushed me away. No, I said. You pushed first. I just stopped holding the door open. Her voice went sharp. You think you're so perfect, don't you? No, I just think I'm done. She stepped closer, eyes shining with anger. Are you even going to stop me? Why would I stop you from doing what you've been threatening for months? That stunned her for a second. I could see it. The moment she realized I wasn't bluffing this time. No pleading, no guilt, no reaction for her to feed off. You're really not going to say anything? she asked, voice rising. I already did, I said. You just don't like the answers. She let out a frustrated sound, somewhere between a laugh and a growl. You're unbelievable. Probably, I said, crossing my arms for a few seconds. Neither of us moved. Then she sighed dramatically, grabbed her purse, and yanked her suitcases upright. The wheels clacked loudly against the tile. She looked back once at the door, clearly waiting for me to say something. Anything. I didn't. She lingered another moment, eyes flicking between me and the door, like she couldn't decide which one to hate more. Then she finally said it, her parting shot. You'll regret this. Maybe, I said, but at least I'll regret it in peace. Her jaw tightened. She opened the door, hauled her bags out, and let it slam behind her. I stood there for a few seconds, listening to the echo fade. Then I exhaled and looked around. The house was quiet. No perfume in the air, no background complaining, no slamming doors. I sat down on the couch, pulled out my phone, and opened the takeout app. Thai sounded good. Something spicy. I hadn't eaten in hours. While waiting for the delivery, I turned on the TV. The remote still worked, which surprised me. Usually, she'd accidentally misplace it during an argument just to annoy me. The food came 20 minutes later. I tipped the driver, sat back down, and ate straight from the container. It felt weirdly peaceful. No one asking what I was watching. No passive-aggressive comments about how unhealthy it was. Halfway through, I realized how comfortable I felt. My own space, my own decisions. No one walking behind me muttering under their breath. After dinner, I rinsed the dishes, threw the trash out, and came back inside. I saw her side of the dresser. Empty. Closet. Half full now, but lighter. It should have felt sad, but it didn't. It felt like finally getting your space back after years of clutter. I sat on the couch again, scrolling through my phone, looking at random stuff I hadn't bothered with in weeks. I wasn't thinking about her. I was thinking about what I wanted to do tomorrow. Maybe a gym run, maybe grab a drink with Nate and Oscar. There was no panic, no heartbreak, just clarity. The kind that only shows up when the noise finally stops. An hour later, I locked up the house and turned off the lights. For once, I didn't check my phone before bed. I already knew she'd text something dramatic I didn't care. The bed felt bigger, cleaner. I lay back, staring at the ceiling, listening to the hum of the air conditioner. It was peace. The first few days after Vanessa left were quiet. Strange at first, but peaceful. I didn't realize how much background noise she created until it was gone. No footsteps pacing the hallway, no hairdryer whining in the morning, no sighs that meant, pay attention to me. Just stillness. I went to work, came home, cooked what I wanted, and watched whatever I felt like. The house felt bigger. I didn't touch her side of the closet, didn't check her social media, didn't reach out. There wasn't anything left to say. After a week, I called a lawyer and filed for divorce. Simple and clean. No drama, no letters begging her to talk, just paperwork. I asked for a quiet settlement. No fighting, no property battles. She could keep the stuff she cared about. I didn't need any of it. My lawyer asked, "You sure you don't want to try mediation?" I said, "I've been mediating for 3 years. I'm done." He smiled a little and nodded. By the second week, I was sleeping better than I had in months. Every morning felt lighter, until she started unraveling. It began with a few social media posts. At first, vague quotes about outgrowing people who suffocate your spark and protecting your peace from manipulators. Then, she went full public. She wrote a long post on Facebook about her abusive, controlling husband, claimed I had isolated her, destroyed her confidence, and manipulated her emotionally. Within an hour, mutual friends started sending screenshots. One message from a friend read, "You seeing this? Dude, she's talking about you." Another sent laughing emojis with, "Guess you're the villain now." The post had a handful of comments, the usual fake sympathy. "You're so strong, girl. You deserve better. Proud of you for speaking your truth." She loved it. Every like, every comment. It was her new audience. I didn't respond. I didn't comment, didn't defend myself, didn't even look twice. I blocked her everywhere. Phone, social media, email. Let her talk to the wall. 3 days later, my lawyer called. "She filed a complaint," he said. "What kind of complaint?" "She's claiming emotional abuse and financial control. Says you restricted her access to money and used silence as manipulation." I laughed. "So I'm guilty of not arguing enough?" "She doesn't have any evidence," he said. "We'll file a motion to dismiss." The next week was a blur of emails and signatures. Her lawyer sent messages full of drama, lists of accusations with no proof, wild claims about how I used money to trap her. My lawyer handled everything. Calm, factual, boring. 2 weeks later, the judge granted our motion to dismiss for lack of evidence. No witnesses, no documents, just noise. The fallout hit her hard. Word got around fast. People who'd been cheering her on started asking questions she couldn't answer. A few friends stopped liking her posts. Others quietly unfollowed. One mutual friend texted me, "She's been going off about you nonstop. People are starting to realize she's lying." I replied, "Not my problem." And it wasn't I had no interest in her downfall. I wasn't going to spend another second living in her world. Instead, I built a new routine. I hit the gym before work, ran a few miles after, grabbed dinner with Nate and Oscar every other night. Nate liked to joke that I was finally acting like a single man. Oscar just said, "Told you peace feels better than being right." They were both right. Every now and then, I'd get updates without asking. Nate showed me one of Vanessa's new posts, a selfie with a caption about healing from toxicity. The likes were half what they used to be. Comments were dry. "She's burning out," Nate said. "Yeah," I replied. "She needs someone to blame. I'm just not volunteering anymore." At work, I started picking up new projects. My boss noticed my focus. "You've been different lately," he said. "More relaxed." "I cleaned up my environment," I said. He laughed, not realizing how true that was. Weeks passed quietly. I stopped checking the phone for drama, stopped replaying conversations, stopped wondering what she was saying about me. Her name stopped coming up. Her stories ran out of steam once people realized I wasn't responding. You can't argue with someone who refuses to join the fight by the second month. It was like she'd disappeared. Our friends divided naturally. The ones who mattered stayed. The rest followed her circus. I didn't gloat. I didn't celebrate. I just lived. Weekends were simple now. Gym in the morning, hikes with Nate and Oscar, maybe grilling at the park. No chaos, no noise, no fake smiles, just laughter that didn't have strings attached. Sometimes Oscar would ask if I missed her. I always gave the same answer. No. I just miss how quiet life is when she's not around. He'd nod. That's how you know you made the right call. By the third month, we finalized the settlement. Property and money. Nothing dramatic. She took the furniture she loved, her clothes, and we signed a small payout just to close it out. My lawyer tapped the stack. "This is the settlement," he said. "The decree comes after the waiting period. You're almost there." I walked out of his office, sunlight hitting just right, and realized how different everything felt. It wasn't joy, not exactly. Just peace. That night, Nate and Oscar came over with beers and pizza. Nate raised a slice and said, "To freedom." I smirked to silence. Oscar laughed. Same thing. We watched a game, argued about nothing important, and for the first time in years, I felt like myself again. Later that night, when I was cleaning up, my phone buzzed with another message from a mutual friend. A screenshot of Vanessa's latest post. She'd written, "Some people never admit the pain they cause, but karma always finds them." No likes, no comments. I smiled, deleted it, and turned my phone off. That was her new life now, talking into an empty room. Mine was finally quiet. And the best part? Her biggest punishment wasn't losing me. It was realizing she had no one left to blame. 3 months after the settlement, I hadn't heard a single direct word from Vanessa. I heard about her online, secondhand, but nothing to me. After everything that had happened, I didn't expect silence from her, but I welcomed it. The house was calm now. Mornings started with the smell of coffee instead of tension. Evenings ended with quiet, not slammed doors. The air felt lighter, like it belonged to me again. My life was predictable in the best way. Work, gym, food, sleep. I saw Nate and Oscar on weekends, and we'd hit the trails or grab a beer. They joked that I was turning into a hermit with biceps. I told them peace looks good on me. Then, one Tuesday evening, everything paused. I'd just finished eating when someone knocked on the door. The sound was slow, hesitant. I opened it, and there she was, Vanessa. Except she wasn't the same woman who'd left. She looked like the color had drained out of her. Hair pulled back messily, skin pale, dark circles under her eyes. She was still pretty, but the shine was gone. She looked tired in a way that went deeper than sleep. "Can we talk?" she asked, voice soft, almost whispering. I didn't say anything for a few seconds. Then I stepped aside. "Sure." She walked in slowly, eyes darting around like she was stepping into a stranger's home. The furniture was rearranged. Her things were gone. My space was clean, quiet, peaceful. It was obvious she didn't belong here anymore. I leaned against the counter. "Go ahead." She stood there, hands twisting the strap of her purse. "I don't even know where to start." "Start wherever," I said. She sighed. "I don't know how to fix this." I nodded once. "You don't want to fix us, Vanessa. You just hate that you don't control me anymore." Her eyes flicked up. "That's not true." "It is," I said evenly. "You liked me better when I agreed with you, when I apologized just to keep the peace. The moment I stopped doing that, you didn't know what to do. You left because I stopped being easy to manipulate. She looked down, biting her lip. I didn't mean for things to end like that. Neither did I. But here we are. She blinked a few times, trying to hold back tears. You changed, Dylan. Yeah, I said. I had to. There was a long pause. The only sound was the faint hum of the refrigerator. She looked smaller standing there, like she was shrinking into the silence. I've been thinking a lot, she said quietly. About everything I said, about that night at dinner, about how I made you feel. I waited. I didn't realize how much damage I was doing, she continued. I thought we were fine. I thought that's just how we were. But you were pulling away, and I just kept pushing harder. I nodded slightly. You were performing. You liked the attention more than the relationship. That's not fair, she said quickly, but there was no bite behind it. It's honest. She exhaled shakily. Is there any chance? For us, I mean. I looked at her for a long moment. She was waiting for a flicker of hope, the kind I used to give her every time she crossed the line. But that version of me didn't exist anymore. No, I said simply. Her breath hitched, like she'd been punched. She looked around again, eyes wet, scanning the room like she could find a piece of the life we used to have. So that's it? That's it. She wiped her eyes, trying to pull herself together. You really are done. I was done the night you made that roommate joke in front of my parents, I said. You just didn't notice. She laughed once, bitterly. Guess I pushed too far. You did. For a second, she didn't move. Then she looked at me, really looked, and whispered, You look happy. I am, I said. That seemed to hurt her more than anything else I'd said. She nodded slowly, then grabbed her purse from the counter. You know, I thought leaving would make you realize how much you needed me. I did realize something, I said. I realized how peaceful life is when you stop trying to fix someone who doesn't want to change. Her lips parted like she wanted to argue, but she didn't. The fight was gone. She walked toward the door, hesitated, then said softly, Goodbye, Dylan. Take care, Vanessa. She opened the door and stepped out into the night. The sound of her car engine faded down the street, leaving behind that same stillness I'd grown used to. Only this time, it felt permanent. I stayed where I was for a while, leaning on the counter, listening to the silence wrap around me again. No shouting, no drama. Just peace. A month later, the divorce decree arrived in a thin envelope. No court dates, no drama. It was officially over. After the waiting period, the divorce decree arrived in a thin envelope. No court dates, no drama. It was officially over. That morning, I sat at my desk staring at the signed documents for a few seconds before sliding them into a drawer. I didn't feel sadness or relief, just closure. The final step in something that had already ended long before it was written down on paper a week after. I met Nate and Oscar for lunch. They didn't bring up Vanessa, just the next trip. Nate wanted to camp up north. Oscar said somewhere near the lake would be better. I just laughed and told them to plan it. A few days later, I was sitting at a small coffee shop downtown, the one with the big windows and the steady background chatter that never got too loud. The kind of place where people mind their own business. I scrolled through my phone and saw a text from Nate. Trips booked. You're driving. Then another one. Don't make us wait an hour like last time, Zen Master. I smiled for the first time that day, typed back, I'll bring snacks. You bring a tent that actually works this time. The sun was dropping low outside the window, streaks of orange cutting through the glass. I sat there watching people walk by. Couples laughing, kids tugging on their parents' hands, life moving forward without any noise or chaos attached to my name anymore. I wasn't thinking about Vanessa. I wasn't thinking about what she'd said or done. She was just a closed chapter, a lesson I didn't need to reread. For the first time in years, my life was completely mine again. Vanessa thought walking away would hurt me. She thought I'd crawl back, prove something, miss the noise she brought with her, but I'd already left long before she packed her bags. The silence she hated so much, that's where I found my peace. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel and help us bring you more and better stories. Thanks.